All right. I did absolutely fucking awful last week, and he's not going to let me hear the end of it. So I really don't want to record this week. But I got to do it. So let's get him in the call.
How's it going?
Shut up. Shut up. Shut up.
How's it going?
Shut up.
Hey, Nick, I just want to ask.
Shut up.
What'd you do this week?
Shut up.
But I just want to know. I didn't quite hear. How'd you do this week?
You're fired.
Yes. Okay. Bye, guys. I'm gonna retire on top.
What is going on, guys? Nick's Picks, week 6 of the NFL season, and I am joined, unfortunately, this week by Ben. Yeah. Ben had one hell of a comeback last week after he was down 23 to 12. Ben was down 23 to 12. Ben had a perfect week. I had the literal opposite of that by getting every single one of my picks wrong, including the wager pick. But yeah, so currently the score is 20 because I lost 3 points after everything last week. 20 to 26. So Ben has taken a 6-point lead after trailing by 11 last week. That is one of the biggest turnarounds in Nick's Picks history. I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you. I'm proud of you, Ben. But if you promise not to say anything about it, how are you doing today?
I was just say I was nervous with the Raiders and Chiefs. Not even just because, I was still gonna be the lead no matter what. There was only 3 points, but mainly just because. We'll talk about more about that game.
Yeah. 17-0.
The main reason why I'm actually kind of more mad that I'm perfect, but we'll get to that.
Speaking of which, let's get into our Week 5 recap. Starting with the Thursday night game, the Indianapolis Colts went up against the Denver Broncos, and this was an absolute fucking snooze fest because nobody wanted to watch this game, and I'm pretty sure half of America didn't. 12-9, the Colts managed to beat the Broncos in overtime. I don't know what's wrong with Denver. I really don't, but
I feel like that just adds insult to injury. It was in overtime.
At the same time, we thought both of these teams, we thought the Colts were the best team in the South. We thought the Broncos were the best team, or not the best team, but one of the better teams in the West. Neither one performing all that well to start off this season. We had our second London game of the season and a second thriller because obviously the Vikings and Saints game turned out to be a pretty good game. The New York Football Giants knock off the Green Bay Packers 27-22 in London. A very impressive game, and I know you agreed with me, and we'll get into it when we talk about the Giants later, but a very impressive game by not only Daniel Jones, but the entire Giants offense for the fact that they don't have any wide receivers at all. We saw a lot of toughness out of Saquon, and we saw that Brian Daboll is the best head coach that the Giants have had since Tom Coughlin. Hands down, no question. Moving on, the Bills absolutely annihilated the Steelers 38-3. It's still early for Kenny Pickett, but 38-3 is not a great showing.
I think he was just throwing the fire. He was going against one of the top defenses. I'm not going to put that on him.
The Chargers continue to, in my opinion, underperform. They win the game 30-28 over the Cleveland Browns, but Cleveland shouldn't be this good, and the Chargers should be a lot better. So keep an eye on them moving forward. Minnesota Vikings did beat the Chicago Bears 29-22. That one you kind of expected to happen. The New England Patriots beat the Detroit Lions 29-0. The Lions had the top scoring offense in the league going into that game. I'm pretty fucking sure they don't have that anymore after putting up a big 0 against the New England Patriots with Bailey Zapp. By the way, bravo to you. I don't know who you are, but I always root for the underdog, so I hope you take over for Mac Jones because it's Mac Jones. The Saints and the Seahawks had a thriller of their own. The Saints coming out on top 39-32. I don't think either of these teams are playoff teams, but if you're interested in either of those teams, yeah, that was a hell of a game. The Jets beat the Dolphins 40-17. Ooh, I feel like we need to talk about that.
Well, Zach Wilson's back. He's good to score over 40.
So are the Jets good, or are the Dolphins really demoralized after the whole Tua thing?
I think they just, because we talked about it beforehand, I think they have a lot of injuries. They're without Tua and Bridgewater, and I think this week potentially out Tyreek Hill. So I think they just caught the injury bug really bad.
Buccaneers did beat the Atlanta Falcons 21-15. There was a controversial call at the end. I don't want to say that call determined the outcome of the game, but it did not allow the Falcons to have one last shot at taking the lead and winning the game at the end of the game. So take that as you will. We'll talk about it a little bit later because, it happened again in a game I'm about to mention in a few. But yes, this whole roughing the passer shit needs to stop. I agree just as much as the salty Falcon fan to my left. The Tennessee Titans beat the Commies 21-17, and I'm still trying to figure out who the fuck asked. The Texans beat the Jaguars 13-6. Fuck Jacksonville. Had them as my wager pick because I thought they were actually doing pretty well this season. Turns out, no. They just are the same fucking team that they've been for the past decade. The San Francisco 49ers did beat the Carolina Panthers. Matt Rule, the first head coach to be fired this season. And I talked about it a little bit on my live stream on Tuesday. I'm not 100% sure if there's another coach that's too close to the hot seat to where we're going to see another one fired in the next couple weeks. I know you had mentioned the Raiders head coach and the Broncos head coach, but I still feel like they're competitive enough to where it's a little early to be moving on from something that big. The Dallas Cowboys beat the Los Angeles Rams 22-10. No fucking idea what's wrong with the Los Angeles Rams. I hope to God that the Dallas Cowboys suck again once Dak Prescott comes back. And that's all I really have to say about that game. The Eagles barely squeaked one out, and I'm going to hold on to the fact that they barely squeaked that one out because I've said that the Cardinals are an overrated team from the beginning of the season, and I still think that. And that the fact that the Eagles haven't really played anyone high caliber yet this season, besides, I guess you could say, the Minnesota Vikings, but it was in prime time. We all know how Kirk Cousins is at prime time. So the Arizona Cardinals were one of their toughest tests so far this season, and they barely squeaked out. And I don't feel like the Arizona Cardinals are that tough of a test. The Baltimore Ravens did go on to beat the Cincinnati Bengals 19-17, a weird score, but I found something interesting that Joe Burrow said after the game. If they keep defending us like that, we're never going to be able to throw deep. No shit, Burrow. That's how defense works. You're going to have to fucking figure that one out. And the Cincinnati Bengals are going to have to figure something out because they're not looking like the defending AFC champions, and they're not even looking like the defending AFC North champions. I think the Baltimore Ravens go on a hot streak starting now because at the beginning of the season, they've been like hot. They've been a good team, but losing some of these close games, I think they're going to start running away with some of these games pretty soon. And to finish off Monday night, the Kansas City Chiefs did come back from a 17-0 early deficit against the Las Vegas Raiders to beat them 30-29 after the Raiders tried to go for two late in the game, couldn't get it. And then as they were trying to score late in the game to take the lead again on 4th and 1, Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow run into each other, and I still think Carr overthrew him by like a solid 5-10 yards, but even if they had not run into each other. But either way, yes, the Raiders did go on to lose. Devontae Adams potentially facing some disciplinary action after he shoved some random dude who walked in front of him as he was trying to get to the tunnel. That's just Raiders football. But that is week 5 of the NFL season, and like I said, after all that, Ben did take a 6-point lead after having a perfect week compared to my completely imperfect week. So yeah, it was a wild week 5.
Yeah, like I said, I'm a little it's weird that I finished perfect. Obviously, I'll get more into Falcons pick once we get there. I would have been okay if I didn't get perfect because of that, but I will save my grievances when we get there.
So let's get into our week 6 picks. And it is undeniable that the game of the week this week is the rematch of probably one of the greatest games that we've seen in a long time. The Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills, the rematch of that AFC divisional round game. I don't know, dude.
I want to know who you're picking
here. I don't know.
Quick side note here. I'm actually glad you picked this game, because I would be having the same dilemma as you. Because
here's the thing. It's in Kansas City. That's one big point for Kansas City because that Arrowhead is a tough stadium to play in. The Kansas City Chiefs offense has been phenomenal these past however many weeks. Yes, they had that rough game against the Indianapolis Colts just a couple of weeks ago, but they definitely bounced back huge against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who don't have a bad defense by any means. And just last week, obviously having the 30-point performance against the Las Vegas Raiders, a divisional opponent in a tough game. The Bills have had some struggles early in the season so far, mainly pertaining to injury more than anything else. But they've had their own share of struggles, and I think because they have so many injuries early on here in the season, this is just a bad matchup for them so early on in the season. So I am going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs here, 30-27. It's one of those things where I feel like these teams are bound to meet twice this season. They're going to meet here, and they're going to meet in the playoffs, whether it's another divisional round game or it's the AFC Championship game. They're going to meet again. So the Chiefs can have this one, and I would rather see the Bills win the next one.
All right. Well, the only other game of the week, as we both kind of agreed on, and by game of the week I mean is a very, very lackluster number 2, and that is the Dallas Cowboys.
Is it? They're both only one loss between the two of them.
Only because of who's at quarterback. If Dak was in, I would say otherwise. It's still Cooper Rush. So regardless, both these teams have very solid defense. I think Dallas has a better defense, not against the run, but at least when you got Micah Parsons on one end and DeMarcus Lawrence on the other, you can get good pressure. And I think that's what this team on defense is at least strong at. And your dad's going to love me saying this. I am picking the Cowboys to win mainly only because of their defense. It is not because of Cooper Rush. It is not because of their offense. It is no reason on their offense. It is strictly because they have the better defense against Philly. Look, Philly, they're a good team. I think we both picked them to win the NFC East. I still think that doesn't change my mind. They are 5-0 against very terrible teams. They have not played anyone good, and this is their first test is against Dallas. Yes, I know it's in Philly. I know that's the thing, but I still have Dallas winning this game, at least the first game. I have them winning 28-21 over Philly. They won 38-35 over Detroit.
Yeah.
Detroit. Carry on.
We move on to our picks of the week. And there's a lot to be said here, but I feel like Ben has a lot more to say about what the Falcons are going through right about this moment. So I'm going to keep this somewhat brief. Look, yes, the Giants had a very, very impressive win against the Green Bay Packers. So much so that even Ben was praising Daniel Jones after the game and how well that he played and basically carried that team to victory. They go up against another tough opponent in the Baltimore Ravens. The good news for the New York Giants is after this game, the schedule does get easy for a good couple of games before we start playing some divisional opponents like the Cowboys and Eagles. But I would love to see the Giants pull off this upset. I had an imperfect week last week. And part of it was because I didn't pick the Giants, but I don't feel comfortable picking the Giants over the Baltimore Ravens, especially since I just said that I do think that Baltimore does start to go on a hot streak from here. All I would love to see out of this game from the New York Giants is that consistency on offense. If this is a shootout and we lose, fine. I can deal with that. But as long as that means that we can play in those games. Because typically all the Giants games, if it's a close game, neither team is scoring above like 24 points. Because the Giants sure as fuck aren't. And the defense manages to keep themselves in the game the majority of the time, but they can only do it for so long. I would like to see the Giants play in one of these offensive shootout games just to see that we can do it. But for this, I am going to go 27-20 Ravens over the Giants. I'd like to see the upset. I'll take the no points for it because I got plenty of time to catch up to you.
All right. So like I said, I'll be brief on Atlanta absolutely getting shelled by the NFL, because if you tell me with a straight face that Grady Jarrett's sack, or would have been sack, on Tom Brady is roughing the passer, you're either one of two things. And I'm not even going to sugarcoat this. Either A, you're Tom Brady himself, who just completely deferred. He said, first off, fuck Tom Brady. He said, I didn't throw the flag. Bitch, yes, you basically did, because you bitched at the ref to call the flag. So I don't want to hear that from him. I hate him more now. Or you're a Tom Brady dick rider, because logically, there's no way you can say that was roughing the passer. I'm not saying Atlanta would have won the game. I'm not saying that at all. I think they could have had a chance, but taking that opportunity away is why I got upset. I texted Nick about it. I'm okay with losing, but not like that.
What I would just say, because the one defense that I guess some NFL refs have decided to come out and say is that he used his full body weight to fall on him. But, like, how the fuck do you want him to fall? Like, what is he supposed to do? So proud of the announcer for the fact that he went through every single sack of Tom Brady prior to that, some of which after he had thrown the ball that weren't called. But then when the game mattered most, you call that. That's what seems sketchy about it.
There was one where it looked like he went for the legs, and I don't know if that was called or not. That one, I could, like, if they called that one a rushing passer, I'd be like, okay, makes sense. That's unnecessary. Anyways, all that being said, outside of Atlanta, somehow, being 5-0 against the spread, meaning, I guess, bet the spread with Atlanta. Don't know how. It is the Niners by 5.5. So Atlanta will keep it within 5 points, which is why I don't have that happening, honestly. I have Atlanta losing, unfortunately, but maybe fortunately, so we can get a good quarterback pick. I have the Niners winning 24-17 over Atlanta. It is in Atlanta. I think they have a chance, but I also think that even though they got absolutely robbed of the game, I also don't think that they would have necessarily won last week either.
We move on to the picks that we give each other. Now, Ben was so kind to give me the Chargers versus the Broncos, so I'm going to make him talk about his rival team, the New Orleans Saints, and he'll have to talk about the Bucs in his wager pick too. So great. You have to talk about all your teams except for the Panthers. We will go with the Chargers and the Broncos. Now look, these are two underperforming teams, but they're two very differently underperforming teams. The Chargers are not fully underperforming on offense. They're missing some key pieces like Keenan Allen, but for the most part, the Chargers are still putting up points every single game. I mean, for the fact that they gave up 38 points against the Jacksonville Jaguars earlier this season, that should say enough. But you look at the other side of the football now, you look at the Broncos, the offense has just been absolutely non-existent for the Denver Broncos. I don't know if it's a Russell Wilson issue. I don't know if it's a coaching issue. I really don't know what it is. He has weapons in Courtland Sutton and Judy. Melvin Gordon is a solid running back. I don't see why Russell Wilson isn't having, I'm not saying the same success that Matt Stafford had with LA last season, but at least along the same lines. Although the Chargers have been underperforming, they have been able to put up a few wins, and they have looked a little better doing it. So I will go with the Chargers on this one, 28-13. Ironically, this is a larger gap than I have my wager pick being, so it is what it is. Yeah, I do think that the Chargers are still a better team. I mean, we've thought that they were a better team from the start of the season, but not like this.
All right, and like Nick said, he is giving me the great pleasure of talking about the Saints. In other words, I'm talking about how they're going to lose this week against the Bengals because, honestly, I don't know if Winston is back yet. I don't know what's going on. I just generally don't know.
Hold the fuck up, though. What if the Saints guard deep passes? What the fuck is Joe Burrow going to do?
That's true. I don't know if they can do it.
I don't understand.
How does defense work? Regardless, I still have the Bengals winning this game, mainly because I think their offense will hopefully bounce back against still a very good Saints defense. I think it's going to come down more to the Bengals defense against the Saints offense. But regardless, I do have the Bengals winning this game. I have the Bengals winning this game 27-24 again, keeping that trend that I am picking the road team to win. This is either going to work really well or really bad for me. And you know what? I'm all for it.
Yeah, you don't play with a lead very well, do you? You're like a Falcons fan.
It's rubbed off too much, all right?
We are 5 weeks into the NFL season. Ben, we made fun of you a lot for only having one wager pick, or for finally getting your first wager pick right in week 4 of the regular season. And then you do it again the following week. So now you've gotten 2 wager pick right. I still have only gotten week 2's correct. My wager pick is the Rams going up against the Carolina Panthers. Look, the Carolina Panthers are, if arguably, the most dysfunctional team in the league right now. So if the defending Super Bowl fucking champions can't beat the Carolina Panthers without a really head coach, they have an interim head coach now for the rest of the season, who, by the way, signed Josh Rosen or drafted Josh Rosen. If the defending Super Bowl fucking champs can't beat the guy that drafted Josh Rosen,
I don't know. I got nothing at that point either, dude.
The Rams' offense sucks. So they're only scoring 20 points this game. But Matt Rule has made the Panthers to the point where in the however long he's been a coach, they are 1-20-something in games where the other team only scores 17 points. It doesn't matter that the Rams are only scoring 20 because the Panthers are only scoring 13.
As much as I can't stand Brady, especially for what happened on Sunday, got to watch the game, absolutely pissed about it. Anyways, they are going against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And talk about a hell of a way to start your first two games. You're going against one of the top defenses in the AFC last year in Buffalo. And now you're going against Tom Brady. Kenny Pickett, I'm sorry, man. I feel so bad for you. Like, you got some weapons, but I feel so bad. Like, I genuinely think that he's going to have a bad year and it's not even going to be his fault. Having said that, I have the Bucs absolutely shelling them. I have the Bucs winning this game 30-17. I was gonna do less, but I was like, you know what? Honestly, I just settled on like 17 is a good number.
So we finish Nick's picks week 6 with the 2-point conversions, and I'm switching mine over to the Arizona Cardinals and the Seattle Seahawks, where the Arizona Cardinals, look, I've already talked about how I think that they're very overrated, but throughout the first 5 games of this season, they went loss, win, loss, win, loss. And they're 2-3. This should mean they have a win coming this week if they're going to keep this trend going. They're going up against the Seattle Seahawks, so it seems like it's a good thing. Plus, the Seattle Seahawks, even though the Seattle Seahawks have been putting up a lot of points and Geno Smith has been doing fairly well, they're 2-3 as well because they can't play defense. So I think that because the Arizona Cardinals seem to have this weird little trend going for them and that the Seattle Seahawks just are not very good at defense, that the Arizona Cardinals are going to have an outstanding offensive performance with 400 plus total offensive yards as a team. And on top of that, I don't get any points if the Cardinals don't walk away with a win.
So you're guaranteeing a win. All right, fair. All right, I'll give you that. That's a very bold statement there. And I am moving to an AFC West showdown between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Indianapolis Colts. We got the young gun, Mr. Sunshine, blonde hair in Trevor Lawrence, going up against the old fart in Matt Ryan. Honestly, I would say the same thing if he was on my team anyway. But this is a quarterback duel for the ages. I'm hyping that all up by just saying that it's probably not, but I think that Trevor Lawrence will have a great game. So much so that he will throw for more passing yards than Matt Ryan. And he has to have at minimum 200 yards passing. I think he'll have at least 200 yards passing and still have more yards than Matt Ryan this coming week.
Matt Ryan has been awfully poo-poo this year, hasn't he?
Yes, he has.
So that is it for week 6 of the NFL season, guys. Like I said, like I said too many times in this fucking episode, Ben has come all the way back from down 11 last week to up 6 this week. He's up 26-20 going into this week. Hopefully I have a much better week this week. And we still each have a challenge left. So, I mean, there's a lot of points still to be scored. I'm not too worried. If at any point you were going to come back, I'd rather it be now than later.
Oh, fuck you.
We're actually recording this on a Tuesday night. That's because Ben's work schedule changed, which has preempted me to change my streaming schedule. So currently, how the streaming schedule is working on the channel is on Mondays and on Fridays, we are going to be live on Twitch at 6:30. I did it a little later just so that people who, get out of work and whatnot, we can get maybe a few newer viewers into the streams. On Tuesdays, I will be live on YouTube at the normal time of 5 o'clock. No, I'm thinking about making that into a podcast, talking about like how the week went. Basically just a week 5 recap so that I can maybe go through the recaps of Nick's picks a little bit quicker. But you guys will have to let me know what you think about that, if you'd be willing to join or watch it later. However that would go. Wednesday and Thursday are my days off. Obviously, Thursday is when Nick's Picks gets posted, and I felt like I was kind of competing with it with my old schedule by streaming and posting it at the exact same time. So Wednesday and Thursday, I will not be streaming, but Nick's Picks will always be posted on Thursdays throughout the NFL season. Saturdays and Sundays, we will be live and we will be on Twitch. The times are always to be determined because the weekends are always a little tough. This upcoming Saturday is most likely not going to have a stream involved because I'm going to be gone most of the day, but we will have to see what happens. But that is what's going on the channel, guys, and I hope you drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and that is it for Nick's Picks Week 6. Ben, is there anything you want to say before we head out?
Honestly, no, I'm kind of still just salty on the roughing the passer. I don't know if I'll get over that.
That's, the one good thing that came out of that roughing the passer call is that I think that is the only thing that could have happened that would have caused you to come into this episode salty after having a perfect week and me having an imperfect week. And you still managed to come into this thing salty. So thank you, Tom Brady, for that one. Thank you, Tom Brady, for that one. I appreciate it. Thank you, Falcons, for choking another one. I appreciate it. But, guys, I hope you enjoy your Week 6 of the NFL season. You have a great one, guys. Peace.
I'm done with you, man.